Okay, so you want to know about my journey. Um, my background started with a degree in law, and I never actually practiced. So I studied law, did a master's, and all of that, and then transitioned into interior design. So I retrained as an interior designer. So my first business was interior design. Started off in the UK, moved to Lagos 2007, 2008, thereabouts, and ran an interior design studio in Lagos for 14 odd years. Now, anyone who lives and works in Lagos knows how stressful it can be. Even more so if you're running a business in Lagos, we all know that's quite stressful. At the time, unfortunately, I didn't have the tools personally. So if I do say so myself, I think I was brilliant at the interior design part. The business parts of it, I was figuring it out as I went along. And then just finding that personal balance between, managing your emotions, managing your work life, your personal life, all of that, I struggled with. I eventually had a major situation of burnout and breaking down. And I realized that I didn't want to first of all, but also I just could not, I wasn't able to continue living and working the way that I was. I thank God for COVID. I say that all the time. And this is not to minimize or to be insensitive to people who really struggled and suffered during COVID. But what I found is that on a personal level and also on a professional level, it forced certain changes that a lot of us did not even imagine were possible. It forced all of us to just stop for a moment and take a break and just reassess. And it's even, for me anyway, it's made working remotely possible. I didn't think we could. And so that period of lockdown was a major period of reflection for me, personal reflection, introspection, just looking at my life, again, on a personal level, but also professionally. If the world ended today and we started all over, what would I want to do differently? And I just knew that I could not come back and do everything exactly the same. So I took the lessons that I had learned, I redesigned my dream life, my dream work life. And the Dew Center is what came out of that. So for me, Dew is a platform that brings together my passions, my passion for design, my passion for education and learning, and my passion for mental health and holistic wellness. So what used to be my interior design studio was transformed into this beautiful space that is the Dew Center. Working from home became a real thing, at least for my interior design practice. So I still am able to do that, but in a totally different way that I did before. And I believe that my calling in this period, because I don't think we have to be any one thing forever, right? I think we have seasons and things change and people change. So for this period, I believe that my calling really is to talk about mental health, to remind people that you're not alone. Mental health, mental illness is a real thing, and we really need to prioritize ourselves. I use myself a lot as an example when I'm, talking to people about how much better your life can be, how much better your quality of life can be when you first start with a level of self-awareness and you begin to take control of the things you can and make intentional choices to change the things that you're not happy about. So that's my journey, and that's how we got here to the Dew Center. When I'm asked the question about women, I usually hesitate a little bit because yes, I'm a woman, and yes, I am in favor of inclusion and equity, equality, all of those things, and promoting and encouraging women. But at the risk of sounding like a sellout, I don't always think of myself first as a woman entrepreneur. I just think of myself as Omon, and this is what I'm doing right now, right? So I'll try and answer that question a bit more broadly, right? As an entrepreneur, not necessarily specifically as a woman entrepreneur. This journey has been and continues to be challenging, right? And I believe that it takes a village, sometimes a bit more than a village. And I have been so blessed, so lucky, so fortunate to be surrounded by people that believe in me, that trust me, that root for me. And so whatever it is I'm doing at the time, right? I've been blessed to have people that will encourage me on what it is. So when I was doing interior design strictly, there were people that were there to support. When I segued into wellness and transitioned into a combination of design and wellness, there have been and still are on a daily basis people that encourage and support me. A lot of them are women, but they're not all women. There have also been people who have been less than supporting, and they also include other women entrepreneurs. So I don't want to focus on, I've been supported by women entrepreneurs. But what I will say, and I don't take for granted at all, that there have been certain opportunities, certain platforms, certain doors that have opened because I'm a woman and have been opened by women specifically, right? So platforms like Wimbiz, for instance, that I'm a life member on, there are things opportunities and experiences that I have had that I would not have had access to, first of all, if I weren't a woman, and also because if there weren't a group of women who had created that platform. So I'm forever grateful. But there are also platforms, others that are not driven by women, but encourage women, if that makes any sense. So certain access to finance at certain rates that are open to women. Perhaps the driver behind it is not a woman, but just someone who believes in promoting and supporting women. I'll apologize to my mom in advance because she's the biggest, greatest advocate for women that I know. But I'd like to say, though, that I believe that everybody is, when we appear on this earth, however we believe we should appear, we're given something. I believe that it's our responsibility, right, to look at the something that you have, to look at the cards that are dealt to you, and figure out a way to leverage that and make the best of it, right? There are opportunities out there. I think it's also our responsibility to identify what's available and key into that as well, to surround ourselves with people that are positive and aligned with our vision, whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Look at people who have done or are doing similar, and have people who hold you accountable and push you and encourage you and drive you and remind you to do the things you said you were going to do, right? I believe that if I were born a man, it's possible that my path, my journey would be very, very different, but I don't know what that would look like, right? All I know is my entire life having been a woman, right? And, some people might consider certain things a disadvantage. I could choose to focus on God, why me, right? But why me what? Why me? Am I a woman? Where does it stop? Why me? Why am I Nigerian? Because some people might see that as a disadvantage, right? And in some cases, it actually is. Why me? Why am I even Black or African? Why me? Why Lagos? Why me? Why this height, this complexion? Like, there's just so many things I could choose to focus on and look at the negatives, right? I'm a woman, for good or bad, right? And there is a lot of good. There's the bad, but there is a lot of good that comes with it. And as with all things, I know it's difficult. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's so easy to not focus on disadvantageous situations, but it's in all our best interest, men, women, Black, white, tall, short, Igbo, Hausa, whatever, like to embrace who you are. Embrace who you are and do the best with the talents and the resources and the circumstances that the universe or God Almighty has dealt you. What advice would I give to women entrepreneurs? I can only speak from personal experience. I'm not a trained psychologist or anything, so I'm not giving professional advice. I can only speak from my personal experience. Something that I like to do from time to time is pull out a sheet of paper. The larger, the better, completely blank. Typically, it's at the beginning of the year, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And ask myself the question, if I could do anything, what would it be? If I could be anyone, who would that be, right? And try to put aside for a minute what is currently, because sometimes, actually a lot of the time, we're limited by what we already know, what definitions, what labels we've already given ourselves, what restrictions we already believe limit us, right? But just for a second, if this was a blank slate and you could literally create whatever life you wanted, whatever business you wanted, what would that be? And I find it helps me. At the end of the day, you come back to reality, and yes, there's still rent to be paid and no power or no whatever, right? But it helps open the mind to possibilities that we might not necessarily see if we're so focused on our limiting beliefs. A lot of people, women inclusive, probably women in particular, live and operate from a place of fear, from underneath labels that we have given ourselves or we have been given by society. And I would advise that the first point to start with is just shake those off. Even if for a moment you and your sheet of blank paper, shake those off. What am I? Who am I? What do I want? What would I like to be? What would I like to do? And start from there. Explore different things. Try out different things. You don't know if what you don't like until you've tried it, right? I didn't know I loved yoga until I tried it. Explore different things, try out different things, and just go on a journey of self-discovery and from time to time self-rediscovery, because we change. I'm very different from the person that I was in 2007 when I moved to Lagos. My dreams are different. My certain fundamental values remain the same and consistent, but the person that I am now, the person that I want to be today and tomorrow, is not necessarily that same person. So I think self-discovery is important, self-assessment is important, and just check in from time to time. I believe that the most courageous people are people who are able to put their hand up and say, actually, I'm not perfect, I'm struggling, I need help, right? You don't have to be everything, all things to all people, every day, all night. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to achieve all, do all. You only have to do your own best and live the life that you want for yourself. My name is Anenih-Mordi. I'm the founder of the Dew Center. This is the International Women's Month series with Savoir and NAVI.